Hello, everyone, and welcome to the One Conscious Love Network. I'm here with Beth. Beth and I met at a networking event last month, and she was telling me what she does. And I know that you guys are really going to enjoy and connect with her on that. So she's doing some beautiful work. So, Beth, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell people how is it that you shed your light in the world?
Yeah. Hello, everyone, and thank you for having me here. My name is Beth. I'm based out of the greater Baltimore, Washington metro area. And I am a certified life coach, also certified transition specialist, and a master practitioner certified energy assessment. Um, and so I did all that and completed all that training and got all my certifications in December of last year, December 2024. And since then, I have launched my business, which is Beyond Life Coaching by Beth. And I essentially help widowed people, 40 plus, who are done surviving and are ready to start living again. And most importantly, doing it guilt free. So my goal and what I hope to achieve with my clients is that I want to help them to rediscover joy and happiness, reclaim their identity, live with purpose and fulfillment, and experience peace and harmony. I myself am a widow. My husband passed away unexpectedly in November 2019 and on my birthday. Just a few short months later, we were in a global pandemic. So I spent just about 2 years um, in deep grief,
Mm.
um, isolation, and by myself. And then I woke up early in 2023 and realized that this wasn't living, this was existing, and there was a huge difference. So, after a lot of reflection and research, I had actually stumbled across a book about coaching, and it piqued my interest. And so I started doing some research. I happened across a couple life coaches in different arenas of coaching, some of whom I had a prior relationship with, former colleagues of mine, one of them in particular. And so I reached out to them and started to learn a little bit more. They were very gracious with their time. And so I started looking into it. I really started thinking about it. And then ultimately, in August of 2023, I left a very high paying and stable job. I sold my luxury condo in the Washington, D.C. area. I started building a small house, and I went to Greece for 2 weeks, treated myself. Uh, Went to Greece for 2 weeks, came back and moved to be closer to my family, and then started school. And then a year later, became a certified life coach. And so now I'm growing my business, and and mostly, what I found was, you know, when you go from being a we to a me, your entire life changes, right? So you have the grief, and that grief is, all consuming in the beginning. But once you start navigating, through that grief and you get to the point where, I call it like the clearing of the fog, right? You start, you pull your head up out of the sand and you just realize, my life is never going to be the same as it was, but it doesn't mean it can't be happy and fulfilling. And so getting there is a different process, a different journey for each person. But you go from like your entire social circle changes, right? Many times when you're in a couple, I mean, you have your girlfriends and things like that, but you have couple friends.
Right.
right? And I can remember shortly the first Christmas after my husband passed away. Now he passed away in November, so it was just, about 6 weeks later. Um, I ended up having about 2 weeks off of work over the holidays. And I just realized I couldn't stay where I was. I could not spend that 2 weeks in my 825 square foot condo, which we had just moved into a year prior because he was getting ready to retire and I had a few more years. We had built a home at the beach that was going to be our part time residence, but I just knew I couldn't be there. So my passport was up for expiration. So I couldn't leave the country, right? So I
Mm.
was frantically, and this is 10 days before Christmas, and I'm
Right.
frantically, searching the internet to go anywhere that
Mm.
was reasonably affordable for me that I could get to in country. And so the day after Christmas, I got on a plane and I ended up in Anna Maria Island, Florida. I knew nothing
Mm.
about it. I knew no one there. Um, and thankfully, it's a very safe place. It's a very nice place. It's a beautiful place and a very safe place. Got in an Uber, ended up at my rental, and I literally spent the week on the beach. But I
Mm.
remember going to dinner at a local restaurant, and it was between, Christmas and New Year's. So probably, high traffic volume
Right.
relative to tourists, right? And I remember walking, I didn't have a car. I just walked everywhere, took the bus. And I remember thinking, I'm going to go out to dinner tonight. I'm going to take myself out to dinner. And I went up to this restaurant and I couldn't get a seat. I couldn't get a table as a single person.
Mm.
And that was such an epiphany for me. I thought, the first, this is the rest of my life, of my
Right.
foreseeable future. Right. And so I got very choked up and very emotional about it when I realized that. But I said, no, you're going to put your big girl panties on and you're going to do this. So I sat at the bar and I ordered dinner. Of course, everybody was very nice to me and I walked back to my rental. But that kind of stuck with me. All right. And when you go through something like this and everybody's there for like the first 6 weeks, 8 weeks, etc. But then everybody has to go back to their regularly scheduled lives. And so, after the holidays, I went back to work. I had a brand new boss who I had no history with. Um, and they were the first female in that particular position in the history of that position. And so, and she was new to the organization. And so and she was the boss. So I reported to the boss. And so she was very dependent on all of us, that were direct reports to her. And I think she had 6 or 7 direct reports in charge of an organization of like 300 people. And her first day was actually my husband's birthday. And
Mm.
so,
So hard.
any other time I might have called in sick, but I thought this is not going to be a good look if I call in sick today, right? So I remember that getting up and going to work and sitting there and thinking, you know, I I have to do this. You know, I this happens to people. Maybe they don't pass away on your birthday or you have a new boss on their birthday, their first birthday after. But I remember thinking, this happens to people.
Mm.
This happens all the time. But you have to figure out a way to live the rest of your life without him. And we had been married, we were together almost 27 years, and we
Mm.
were married 22.
Mhm.
So that's kind of how the journey, and so I'm going through COVID and the pandemic and
Mhm.
working remotely and being, like I said, shuttered, isolated. And I also had my own health issues. that, I was immunocompromised due to medications I took. And
Mm,
so going out was even more of an issue for me from a health perspective. So I was really, really isolated. Um, I ended up with a cat. So I thought, if I'm stuck here, at the time, a lot of folks weren't able to take care of their pets, and so they were taking them to shelters. And
mhm,
so I decided to foster um, my first cat ever. I'd always been a dog person, but so I ended up fostering a cat um, and keeping him. So he's mine. He's here with me today. Um, and but it was such a after going through all that,
mhm,
and like I said, I woke up in 2023 and I realized my life no longer aligned with my values, my goals, and my objectives. And that the only person that could change that was me.
mhm. And it's such a beautiful realization because unfortunately, so many people stay in that old reality, right? There's just that fear of the change, and that's where you can really help them to transition, right, and grow.
Yeah, you really have to figure out, for me, like, um, and a lot of people, you do your values, your goals, your objectives, everything about your life has changed. What you
Mhm,
knew is no longer. But it's really about embracing what can be.
mm,
And so, and at times, it's about, like, for me, I knew that coaching was something I wanted to do. And as I said, I did a lot of research and I decided that, now was a time, there was only going to be, you only have so many opportunities in your life where you can take that leap of faith.
mhm,
And I decided that was my window of opportunity. So I chose then because I thought if I don't do it now, I'll never
right,
do it. And the other thing I decided was to kind of broadcast to my family and friends that I was doing it because I thought if I don't say this out loud, the accountability, it's easy to say, oh, that was a great idea,
right.
but then not execute on it, right? So I said it out loud to many people. I am going to do this. And the other thing I decided was I wanted to find some hobbies that were new and unique to me. So I
Mhm,
had this opportunity where I could embrace some interests free of guilt, free of so many times, we feel like we have our families and, we focus on them and other people's needs.
mhm,
And so I started doing more of, you know, identifying my interests and pursuing those to help me grow as a person. So, for instance, I travel. I love to travel. Now, I traveled with my husband, and now I travel with, I have some girlfriends that I travel
right,
with. Um, I've, I've, I've kind of like shifted some traditions that I used to do with my husband. So, when we would travel, we would pick up holiday ornaments. And it
mhm,
wasn't, our holiday ornaments were representative of where we went. So it could be something like, um, not that I went to Morocco with him, but if we went to Morocco, it could have been a camel,
right.
something like that, that was representative of the area that we visited. So now what I do is I pick up refrigerator magnets. So it's still a nod to him and kind of what we did, but a twist
Yeah.
so that it's now mine,
Mhm.
but still a continuation of sorts. Another thing, and I did go to Morocco, by the way. I went to Morocco for 2 weeks in April with a girlfriend of mine.
Hey.
Um, and then other things I started doing, I took a language class. You
Mm.
know, um, I wanted to learn how to speak Spanish more fluently.
Mm-hmm.
So during the pandemic, I had tons of time on my hands. So I took a language class. Other things I've done is I just signed up for a creative writing class at the local community college. These are the things, I'm doing for me, and
Yeah.
I'm doing them guilt-free. And the other thing I've really learned through this process is boundaries.
Mm.
So many people have good intentions, but it's okay for you to say, this is what's working for me. I appreciate the thoughts. I appreciate your concern, but right now I'm kind of doing this, and that's working for me right now. You know, um, you'll get. I don't want to say get over it with time. You don't ever get over it. Um, but in time, you will move on.
Right.
You know, things like that. And so learning too how to put those boundaries in place that are respectful of the people in your life,
Mm-hmm.
but also, deliver the message that, this is kind of my space, this is my journey,
Yeah.
and it's mine to navigate. And it's okay for me to do this at my pace and on my terms. So, you know, it's interesting in that, um, and very ironic because I'm the youngest of eight. And so, here I am, the youngest of eight, but yet I lost my spouse. And
Mm-hmm.
so that was difficult for my family to kind of navigate as well.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
So unexpected, right? That's always the
yeah.
challenge. Oh, it's a challenge regardless, but yeah. But I love how you're helping people to redefine who they are and find their purpose and create space for the things that you didn't necessarily think you would get to do, like traveling to new destinations and learning new languages. And that's just so beautiful. And I think that it just goes to show that, yeah, you don't want to be sitting there waiting, right? And so your own transformation can inspire so many people that are watching. So I love that. I love that. The one question I always ask everyone is how you choose one conscious love. What does that mean to you?
Well, it's interesting. I mentioned, that I was master practitioner certified in energy assessments. And one of the things that um, core energy coaching, which is the type of coaching I do, is there's there's kind of like there's disciplines, there's influencers, and there's different energy levels. And conscious choice is huge, right? So there is awareness is step one. Step two is acceptance. Step three is conscious choice. Step four is trust the process, authenticity, fearlessness, confidence, connection, presence in the moment, and energetically engaged. And so conscious love is showing up, knowing who you are, knowing that none of us is perfect, right? Um, and at any given time, our energy levels can fluctuate based on situations. But to me, the one conscious love network and the one conscious love concept is making that choice to show up and be the best person you can be in that moment and grow from that experience and
Mhm.
share that with others without judgment.
That's beautiful. That's so beautifully said, Beth. Thank you so much. And for everyone watching, please reach out to Beth. She has space for new clients, and we're going to put all your links in the comments so people can easily click on them and reach out to you and connect with you. And I know we're going to see you again at the One Conscious Love Network and other events and workshops because while you're so well spoken and your story is so inspiring. So thank you so much for being here. Anything you want to share with anyone before we wrap up here?
I guess the one thing I really want to share with anybody is that, grief is your journey. Take your time and grieve. It's very important you do so. Give yourself grace. Um, but when it's time, don't let yourself stay there indefinitely.
Mhm.
It's okay when the time is right for you to start living your life fully and wholly without guilt. You know, we everybody just everybody deserves to be happy. This
Mhm.
was something that happened to you, not something you caused. And many of us struggle with guilt a lot of times when we go through something like this. But again, give yourself grace. Everybody has done the best they can in any situation they're in. And then when you're ready, take that first step. It's that first step, and then that leads to the rest. And with that, I'll just say thank you so much for inviting me to be here and letting me speak. And I wish you all the best.
That's beautiful, Beth. And I know a lot of people enjoy your words and your wisdom for sure. So, again, I welcome you to connect with Beth and make a new friend and new connection and learn because there's lots to be learned about your experience and your transformation is really inspiring. Thank you so much for being here today. And thank you, everyone, for watching. Until next time, thanks.
Thank you. Bye bye.